And how long you were in the car business?
Man, I started, I was a single dad, and through college I ran bars and restaurants and decided that I was going to be a good dad. I couldn't be gone at night all the time running bars and whatnot. So made a change, had a very good friend who was working at a Toyota dealership who made the offer to get me on in service, and I got hired on as a oil change service rider. Probably one step above the janitor role in the dealerships as far as the hierarchy of things go. And I worked myself up from being an oil change service rider to being a general manager of a store. Did everything in between. And while I was there, actually, it was kind of the opening into where I'm in now, because while I was there, I saw a Facebook post that asked for a show idea. And on Sunday afternoons, Sunday was the only day of the week that I was absolutely off from work. My son and I would sit down and we'd watch Pigman. 7 o'clock Sunday evenings.
Yeah.
That was my little boy's favorite. At that point, I think he was probably 4, helped a little bit. I ended up getting added to the page and sent the guy a message, and it was humbling, man. The guy called me back almost immediately, and he said, would you really be willing to help me on this stuff? I said, sure. What's going on? And he told me that he had some pigs that were tearing up a field, said that his dad had died of a heart attack the year before, left him the farm, and he was responsible for him and his mom and his siblings' well-being on this farm. And if the pigs got him again, the insurance guy said they couldn't replant everything that the daddy had ever worked for. Really kind of pulled on my heartstring. I will honestly say, had I not heard that story, I probably would have turned him down. Mm-hmm. He told me he had 200 acres, and it was a 2-hour drive from him.
Right.
When you got the amount of land that I had close by, 200 acres, a 2-hour drive away, working the schedule I was working already, was not simple. Mm-hmm. But they didn't bat an eye. They said, sure, we'll do all those things. And
So you basically threw them an offer that you, on your mind, thinking like, they might not accept it.
I thought there was no way they would accept it. No way. It was
off the wall numbers.
Asinine. It was ridiculous.
And they just like, sure.
Okay. And I said, okay, if that's what it's going to take.
How was your reaction on that?
Man,
Was you expecting that?
Shocked. I was shocked.
I would.
I would have never accepted. I would have laughed somebody out of the room if they'd hit me with what I did.
Do you throw a number on you?
And he said, I got to tell you, man, that was the most religious experience I probably ever had. He said, God and I got real close while you were driving some of that stuff, and I couldn't say anything. He said, I'm not going to tell you I didn't say some prayers.
Yeah,
laugh about it.
It is challenging driving at night. It is. Yeah. It is. How
you got to have good equipment, and that's what
you got.
There was a group of guys that came in. I don't know. It's been not quite a month ago. They killed 227 that we put our hands on in 4 nights.
Yeah,
that was a 4-night hunt.
But I counted for 227.
227. And that's not what got shot.
One night.
No, that's 4 nights.
4 nights. 4 nights. It's still a lot.
I don't care how careful somebody's going to be. If they're out poaching, they're going to hit a bump. They're going to do something, and that light's going to go up in the air.
Going to bounce. Yeah.
And then well, if we had a lone pig and we all shot it, it died. Well, the equipment's probably sighted in. And he comes back and says, well, they just didn't die, man.
Let's see. All right, Jeremy. Hey, thank you for having me. And I really appreciate the time that you are giving me. And for the audience, it's going to be interesting in conversation, because this is a gentleman that I want to interview or meet in person for a long time. It's not like one time off that we hit off. I know we talked over the social media years back when you were looking
few times,
looking for people to help you out with the business. But now using these podcasts, I basically kind of like a vehicle to meet all the people in networking, and I really appreciate it. You open your doors for your house to me, and I would like to get more in depth on what you do in the hunting business.
Sounds good.
All right. So can you give me just kind of like brief introduction on who you are?
Yeah. My name is Jeremy Simpson. I own High Plains Hunts and Lifetime Deer Blinds. Just recently started the Lifetime Deer Blinds things. Bought that off of a guy who was trying to get out of the business, and I make my living and enjoy the outdoors. So,
quick question: do you have a good deal on the blinds?
for what they are, they're a great value. We've got probably one of the better blinds on the market right now. Watertight, bug tight. Our normal blind is 6 foot by 8 foot, so they're pretty nice.
Nice.
Fully insulated, good quality blind.
All right. Hey, so question for you. Since you told me off camera, you told me you were in the car business before, and how long you were in the car business?
Man, I started. I was a single dad, and through college, I ran bars and restaurants, and decided that if I was going to be a good dad, I couldn't be gone at night all the time, running bars and whatnot. So, made a change. Had a very good friend who was working at a Toyota dealership, who made the offer to get me on in service, and I got hired on as a oil change service rider. Probably one step above the janitor role in the dealerships as far as the hierarchy of things go. And I worked myself up from being an oil change service rider to being a general manager of a store. Did everything in between, from selling cars to finance, sales manager, whole 9 yards. And, you know, it led me to have the ability to get into the hunting like I am currently. And I owe it all to that.
I have a curious question. How was that transition from changing oil and maintenance to basically to sales? Like, how was that?
Well,
that
I actually
transition?
wasn't the technician. I was the guy who, when you pulled up to the dealership, I would get your information and your car's information, and you
Okay.
would tell me you needed an oil change and a tire rotation, and I would come back, and I was the annoying guy that would offer you the air filters and new tires if you needed them, brakes, all of that kind of stuff. So I was in sales to begin with, if you look at it from that aspect.
Right.
But we went from there. Honestly, I never wanted to be in sales as far as the actual car sales. It's a funny story. A boss of mine by the name of Brady Keys, a very, very, very good boss that I had. Learned a lot from the man. He pushed me and pushed me and pushed me to be in sales, and I fought it, man. I did not want to do it. And he orchestrated this thing. Basically, I think he had it planned out from the get-go. He made a contest that he was going to send the winner in the service department. It was a contest that was pretty complicated. It had to do with your effective labor rate and the hours that you wrote, and basically the profitability. He was going to give them a trip and send somebody on a little trip, which just so happened to be the place that I enjoyed taking my son the most. So I won the contest. And being that I was a single dad and we went on this vacation, I came back flat broke, and he knew I was going to come back flat broke.
Oh my God.
And I got there, and the day that I got back, they called me into the office, and they said, "Hey, how was your trip?" I said, "It was great, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you." And he said, "Good. You got two options. You can either go find another job, or you can go into car sales." I said, "Man, I just thanked everybody in your service department." And he said, "Oh, I know you did. I knew you would up front. And now you're going to go into car sales because you're going to spank everybody up there too." And in my mind, at that point in time, I was still in school. I was going to, I wanted to be a petroleum land management guy. And so I said, okay, thinking it would be a temporary means to an end until I could get out of school and get the job that I really wanted in my mind at that point. And he put me in car sales, and I think I had kind of felt like I was just going to cruise through it. I'd make enough to not fall on my face. And then I got up there, and there was an old man by the name of TD. And TD made a smart comment to me, and basically in front of a whole bunch of our coworkers told me that I was going to suck at it. And that's all it took. And I started outselling everybody by significant amounts. And I did that until almost a year later. The company I was working for was Group 1 Automotive. They're in the top 5 largest automobile companies in the world. They were at that time. I'm not sure right now, but at that time they were. And we had the flagship store of the company was actually right across the road from us. It was their Ford store. And one day the general manager went in, and he was going to give the guys there a little pay cut because they had been, this is just after the crash of the auto market, 08, 09. And he basically cut their pay, and they all walked out overnight. And so the flagship store had no help at all. And they gave the guy that was running pretty good numbers in our finance department the job, and his only request was that he got me, which was funny because me and this guy didn't get along. Like when I say we didn't get along, I thought there were a couple of times we were going to go out in the parking lot and figure it out. I thought it was very odd that he chose me, but he did. And later I found out that got to the point that they told him, you can have anybody other than Jeremy. At that point, they didn't think I was manageable, trainable. They thought I was a little bit hard-headed, which they're not the first person ever in my background to tell me that. But he fought, and I owe an awful lot to that guy. His name was Richie Stewart, and God rest his soul. He passed away now. But I got over there and took off, and I learned a lot really quickly. They threw me into a job that I had zero idea about, zero training, and they put a guy in there from Dallas that was a trainer that basically he would go around in those situations and fill in when they needed people, fill in a body in an office so customers weren't waiting and twiddling their thumbs and not being able to finish up a car deal. I was in that office with him 2 days, and I remember walking out, and he had some customers that he was going over stuff, and you could tell these customers were extremely uncomfortable. He wasn't very effective. He wasn't
a closer
offering the things he needed to, and you could tell he was doing things to make his living rather than taking the customer's best interest at heart.
Okay.
So I walked out and told the manager, my boss, he needed to get the guy out of the office. Just let me take over.
Yep.
And we ran from there. I went back in, apologized to the people for the way that the guy was pushing product and doing those things, and got a good rapport going, did a good deal, and it went from there. I took off and got pretty good recognition from the company. I think I was the number one finance guy for a significant amount of time until they moved me into upper management. I left there, went to another company. Probably not the best idea that I ever had, but at that point in time, they looked bright and shiny, and so I went and joined in as a partnership. And while I was there, actually, it was kind of the opening into where I'm in now, because while I was there, I saw a Facebook post that asked for a show idea. And on Sunday afternoons, Sunday was the only day of the week that I was absolutely off from work. My son and I we'd sit down and we'd watch Pigman, 7:00 Sunday evenings.
Yeah.
That was my little boy's favorite. At that point, I think he was probably 4, and that was what he wanted to do on Sunday afternoons. So when this post came up on Pigman's Facebook page, it said, give us an idea for a show. I just reached down deep and thought of something that I had no idea whether I was going to be able to put together or not. And I said, well, I've got this piece of property that I hunt on. It's right next to a golf course that's getting destroyed by pigs. I had no idea that at that point in time, Roaring Springs Ranch Club had never in their history allowed anyone to hunt on their property ever before. And I offered it up for a TV episode, unknowingly. They reached out to me, and I went, oh, crap. They wanted to do it, and I was just shooting blanks. I had no real game plan of this.
You just proposed it,
man,
and just
I threw it out. It was a great idea. I said, no. And at that point in time, his dad was Dap. He's still Dap. Told him, I said, hey, go get him dressed up like Bill Murray on Caddyshack. Let's go out at night and let's shoot some of these pigs out on this golf course. It'll be a fun episode. They thought it was good creativity and a good idea, and they said, let's do it. Then I got to figure out how we were going to do it, because I had never spoken to these folks at the ranch club. Luckily, my sales ability shined through a little bit. I had to go into a board meeting with all of the old folks out there that ran the place and convince them that this guy that had a TV show needed to come into their little small community and bring night vision and thermals and camera crews, and we needed to shoot pigs on the golf course that they had never allowed anybody to hunt before. And I sold them on the idea. So he came in, we shot our first episode, and prior to that, he had a guy come in, got here a day before he did. His name was Chip Fong. He was the director of marketing at ATN, and Chip and I hit it off pretty well. That was back when ATN was still, in my opinion, a pretty good, solid company. It was before Pulsar really had gained any traction at all, and other than Fleer, Raytheon, ATN, there weren't a lot of players in the game. We hit it off, and after that episode, Chip started sending me equipment and getting me to do some stuff. That was when they were releasing the X-Sight to begin with, and we got to do some fun stuff, and that got me looking more and more into doing that in my free time. My son and I we deer hunted a lot, dove hunted, but that was about the extent of it. And that was the opening really to get into the thermal industry. He ended up, the first thermals that I got, Pigman got them for me, and they were the old Sig Echoes. And didn't know at that point in time that they weren't really what I wanted to use. But after I got them and started using them, Myron Morrow from Night Vision Outfitters was my college roommate. Him and I were visiting a lot about what was going on, and he was talking to me and getting ideas and stuff for Night Vision Outfitters. And lo and behold, he started this side hustle, and it's grown into a pretty good, pretty large business for him. He's very knowledgeable. He's got great customer service. He ended up picking up Pulsar as a dealer because Jeff Murray from Texas Tech University, which was one of Myron's frat brothers, got to be the VP of Pulsar. He had that connection. I had the connection to Myron. We made connections that way, and I started running my first Pulsar Apex.
I remember that, yeah.
Freaking fantastic, man. I think that was probably the most robust scope body that Pulsar's ever offered. Great scope. Didn't have the clarity that you have now, obviously. That was back before people were making 1024s like they are now.
Right.
IRA just released that new 1024.
And what year was that when you got introduced to Pulsar?
Man, I'm not good with dates anymore. That was probably about 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Somewhere
Yeah,
in that
that's
ballpark.
like in the infancy
Yeah.
of the thermal industry.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was still, even the cheap scopes were still pretty expensive.
Right.
So,
right. The technology wasn't that developed yet.
Exactly. I think the Apex at that point in time was the only offering that Pulsar had. I got the XQ38 Apex, which was a 320 core thermal. And I reached out to a guy that I had met before who was a guide that did pig hunts. And I said, hey, man, let's go do a night hunt. And he took me and my son out, and he shot a boar that giant pig. He still has the skull in his room at 15 years old. He's about to turn 16, but that was kind of the first real experience that we had going out and shooting a cool pig together. And I just started doing it more from there. And being that I was one of the first ones around to have thermal, a lot of the farmers that I had never dreamed of talking to or helping started to reach out here and there and say, hey, I've got a buddy that told me you've got one of these scopes. I've got a real problem out here in my Milo with these pigs. I've got peanuts that are getting torn up. Would you be interested in coming out when you're free and seeing if you can shoot some of them? I mean, you're
Why not?
talking about a dream come true. The hunting industry at that point, it had already turned into, in Texas, where it was a money game. You didn't have a lot of free land to hunt, and being a single dad, where I was at that point in the business of the car business, I could afford a place or two, but you can't get all these places
right
close by like I had. And it developed into around Lubbock itself, within 30 or 45 minutes, I probably had 150, 200,000 acres within the first year and a half or so of having that thermal. And then I got some promotions and started making a little bit more money and decided I needed some more scopes. And at that point in time, I had married my wife, Megan, and I was acquiring a lot of equipment. I had some night vision. I had some scopes. I had 2, 3, 4 scopes, and they were the Trigicon, the Reaps and the IR Hunters. I had a couple of each at one point, and Megan said,
they're not cheap, though.
No, they weren't cheap. And Megan, bless her heart, she just said, what do you need all these for? Like, you can only use, even if Caden goes with you,
so much.
you can only use 1 or 2. Why do you need all these? Without really thinking about it, I said, I'm going to start a business. It'll pay off in the long run. I had no real plan of starting a business. It was just something to get my wife to not complain about me buying all the crap that I was buying.
Yeah, it's kind of like
It's
like a get away excuse. And
Exactly. I dodged the bullet a little bit.
Right.
So and then I kept going, doing the same thing. I was hunting a lot around Lubbock, and a guy that I hunted with occasionally from down in Snyder called me one day. I was a GM of one of the stores here in town. He called me, and I saw his number, so I answered it. And he asked me if I'd be willing to help a guy. He said there was a Facebook post that got put up by a guy that was getting destroyed by pigs and really needed some help. Mm-hmm. Semi-local, not real close, but close enough. He said that a lot of people had mentioned me in the post, and I wasn't even on the page at that point in time. It was an ATN owner's page, and I was way past running ATN.
But your name was already going around
locally.
Locally.
The farmers around here, quite a few of the farmers had me watching some stuff, and I had gotten a little bit of exposure through Night Vision Outfitters. I was on their pro staff back then, way back before pro staffing was cool.
Right.
And I guess that helped a little bit. I ended up getting added to the page and sent the guy a message, and it was humbling, man. The guy called me back almost immediately, and he said, would you really be willing to help me on this stuff? I said, sure. What's going on? And he told me he had some pigs that were tearing up a field, and said that his dad had died of a heart attack the year before, left him the farm, and he was responsible for him and his mom and his siblings' well-being on this farm. And if the pigs got them again, the insurance guy said they couldn't replant. They were going to lose everything that their daddy had ever worked for. Really, really kind of pulled on my heartstring. I will honestly say, had I not heard that story, I probably would have turned him down. Mm-hmm. He told me he had 200 acres, and it was a 2-hour drive from Lubbock.
Right.
When you got the amount of land that I had close by, 200 acres, a 2-hour drive away, working the schedule I was working already, was not
feasible.
It wasn't something that I was really interested in doing. But when he told me the situation, I did feel bad for him, and I made one of the better decisions I made in the hunting game. I told him, I asked him, I said, when are you planning? He said, I'm on a tractor right now. I need help tonight if you can be here.
Wow. So
I called a couple of guys that I've done a lot of hunting with. They're pretty well known in the hunting industry as far as the predator industry, especially. It's Matt Sklasky and Wesley Knoll. And said, look, this is what's going on. They said, yeah, man, let's go. Let's ride. So we went up and got there that night. I made the landowner come out with us. I took one of those extra rigs that I had for no good reason. I said, look, we're going to come, but you got to go with us. Well, that 200 acres turned into a couple thousand that night. Within the next week, it turned into about 5,000. And then about a month later, it turned into 12,000 acres that he had right about that I was hunting between him and another guy that he had permission for us to hunt on. We did that for a couple of months, and I remember I was sitting there one day having breakfast with him, and he said, man, there's a lot of guys that have been asking me who you are. I haven't given them your info because I wanted you to take care of my pigs. But, you've been seen by them, and what it was is without knowing, when we would go out and shoot all these pigs, we would put them on a trailer and haul them to a pit to get them out of the fields.
Right.
From the farmers. That's all these guys that are going around knocking on doors. They don't know that that's one of the main things that the farmers don't want to deal with is bodies laying everywhere. Mm-hmm. So we would go out, and after everybody would hunt, I would go back around and I would drag all the pigs out of these fields by hand, load them on this trailer, drive them down the road to the
Not an easy job to do.
It's not easy, but looking back on it, I credit a lot of what I've got now to doing that. Because what it did is at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, when I'm driving down the county road to go dump these pigs off this trailer, all those farmers were in the fields. And they see this guy they've never seen before every day, every couple of days, whatever it was. At that point in time, it was 2 or 3 times a week. Driving down the county road with 50 or 60 pigs on the back of a flatbed trailer. They're thinking, man, who is this guy? What's he doing? And they found out I was hunting on the guy's land that I was and reached out to him. And once I kind of had the pigs under control on his property a little bit, he gave them my information and they reached out to me. And I started helping them a little bit, and then they got a little bit more needy. They were like, we need you out here more. This is a big deal to us. We'll get our friends. And this is the first time that I really thought about starting High Plains Hunts. They said, we'll get our friends to come out. We've got people, the seed salesmen, the tractor companies, all these different people. We'll get to come out and pay you for you to take them hunting and do this kind of stuff. They would love to do this. You do it. And we understand, you're coming out here doing all this on your dollar. We'll make it worth your time by having these guys pay you. You need to figure out how to do this more.
Right.
So I did it for, I think it was probably 6 months at that point in time, and walked into a dealership one day, and they asked me what we were going to do different the next month, and I was what we're going to do different, and that was, at that point in time, that was the start of High Plains Hunts. I remember I left, and they told me to come back and talk to them, go home and think about it, and come back and talk to them the next day or 2 days later. And I remember walking back in my door, and my wife said, what's going on? What'd you forget? And I said, I didn't forget anything. I think I'm going to get out of the car business. And I had a pretty coveted job. I had a job that a lot of people around here would have loved to have for a great company. And she thought that I was absolutely off my rocker.
Right,
So,
right. How difficult was making that decision of like, hey, this is the crossroad of my life, and which one I would take, left or right? How difficult was making that decision?
for a sane man, it would have been pretty difficult. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I had been so sleep deprived from doing this for so many days that I was moody, wasn't thinking real well, and it was kind of a snap deal to me. Didn't really put a lot of thought into it. I had no plan of it. It wasn't anything I had thought about. But at that point in time, 2 to 3 days a week, I would get up at 6 in the morning, go to the gym, come home, shower, go to the meeting with the owners of the store, go run the store, and I'd leave the store about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, come home, change clothes, grab my equipment, and drive 2 hours away, hunt until 4 a.m. in the morning, gather the pigs up, be back here in time to take a shower and get back to the meeting with the owners the next day and run the store the whole next day, then go home and go to bed. So I was doing a lot of burning the candle at both ends. So I think that did have something to do with my rash decision. I don't regret it at all. I got into it, and I started High Plains Hunts and did it for 8 months, just doing High Plains, getting it going. It took off a lot faster than I expected it to. I was very blessed in that matter. And then I had people start reaching back out to me from the car business, giving me a hard time, telling me all the different things that buddies will say to each other late at night when they're drinking. These were the guys down in Group 1 down in Houston, and they called me and said, hey, what's going on in Lubbock when you're out there? You sure you don't need to be home? You sure you don't want to spend more time with your family? And giving me a hard time about things that I'm not going to mention on the podcast, but they were giving me a hard time about them. And wanting to take me to dinner. They wanted to get on a jet that night. It was a Friday night when they said that. And I'm sorry, it was a Saturday night. They said they were going to fly down and we were going to go to the bar and have some drinks and talk. And I told them I couldn't. I was out guiding hunts. And told them that if they were in town the next day that I'd go have dinner with them. And they said, sure, man, we'll be there. And told my wife when I got home the next day what was going on. I said, they're going to try to talk me back into it.
Right.
I don't really want to go back into it. I said, I'm going to make some offers and negotiate because they're my buddies, but I don't think this is going to work out. She said, that's fine. Go have dinner with them. And we hadn't even gotten our drinks down, and they hit me with it. And I gave them a list of demands that if an employee gave me, I would laugh them out of the room. It was stupid. I mean, it really was. I feel bad about it almost at this point. Mm-hmm. But they didn't bat an eye. They said, sure, we'll do all those things. And
So you basically threw them an offer that you, on your mind, thinking like, they might not accept it.
I thought there was no way they would accept it. No way. It was
off
asinine.
the wall numbers.
Asinine. It was ridiculous.
And they just like, sure.
Okay. I said, okay, if that's what it's going to take.
How was your reaction on that?
Man,
Was you expecting that?
Shocked. I was shocked.
I would.
I would have never accepted. I would have laughed somebody out of the room if they had hit me with what I did.
Do you throw a number on your salary?
Numbers, as far as what I needed to make. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing that I hit them with was my scheduling. The car business is as you know, it's very demanding,
right,
time-wise. And I hit them with some stuff, and I won't go over all of it out of respect for them. Mm-hmm. But I hit them with some things that were just it wasn't real in the car business. And they did it. And I stayed with them for 4 years after that. I remember leaving the restaurant, and I called my wife. The restaurant's like a mile from my house. I didn't even wait till I got home. I called her as soon as I got my truck, and I said, babe, I might have screwed up. She said, why? Well, I gave them, all that list of demands that I had, and they freaking took it.
Give them a laundry list of demands, and they just...
And she knew about some of them.
Every item
everything.
that you want.
Just said, okay.
Wow.
And she knew of the things I was going to hit him with, and I think she was a little bit in shock. She said, wow, well, I guess you need to do it, just do it for a month, and if it doesn't work out, I'm sure they'll understand. I'm not really good at quitting. And so I stayed with them doing it for 4 years until there was some shift in the upward management of the company, and they started I would have still been doing it, but they wanted me to be at the store 3.5 days a week, which in the car business, that sounds like, why wouldn't you do that? I had been working 1 day a week for 3 years, and it was a random day. It could be a different day every week. I didn't work weekends. I didn't work Fridays and Saturdays, which is unheard of in the car business. And It was great. I mean, it really was. I could still run high planes. I had a couple guys working for me, Landry and Cody. Most people that have been out with us know Landry and Cody. Landry has gone on to do some other things. Cody's still right by my side doing all the things Cody does. He's fantastic.
He's a right-hand man doing it all.
He is. He really is. Can't say enough good things about him. I give him a hard time and you know, just like friends do, but I think he understands I'm doing it all in love, and the guy is fantastic. But that went away, and then I gave one more dealership company that was new to the area a chance, and they had me working the extra few days, and I did it for 2 months and just said, I can't do this anymore. Okay. I didn't have any time with my family. I missed a lot of sporting events for my youngest kid, and realized that, you know, working for myself was really, it was where it was at. You know,
right.
I'm not going to say that there's not sacrifices, because there absolutely are. But at the same time, if you've got ideas of things, you can plan ahead, and you don't have somebody telling you, you know, well, we really need you here those days. If you make the schedule and you've got your clients scheduled out and everything else, then if you need off some time, you can make sure that happens. That was a big deal to me.
I mean, trying to jump in that subject about, you know, just basically you build your own schedule and going to work. In the car industry, like you mentioned, is insane. I mean, at least you have to be there 5 times a week, at the barely minimum, to make the numbers.
Yeah.
And thinking you were telling me like you were there not sometimes a day or 2 on the week. Does that took effect on your numbers? Like, you know, is basically
that's one of the things that we went over up front.
Right.
And, again, I don't want to get into too much detail out of respect for those guys, but it didn't affect anything. We had a bottom dollar number that every month I was going to take home, regardless of how much I was there, how much I wasn't there. I feel bad about it. I mean, I told these guys, just so everybody understands, you know, these guys were my friends, and I told them, I understand if you can't do this, if you don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
You know, please tell me it's not going to be bad blood. We'll split. We'll be friends. You know, you can call me and we can go hunt and we'll go drink a beer, whatever. For whatever reason, they kept telling me, no, you know, we want you here. You're a big part of this. You help us out a lot. You're very valuable, and it made me feel wanted, you know, appreciated, which was great. But yeah, it, unlike anything else in the car business I've ever heard of, it didn't matter. I made the money that they said I was going to make. They were always good for their word, and I would go in and do everything I could to
deliver,
to help and deliver.
Right.
You know, whether it be helping source inventory or training employees, hiring, firing, motivating, going out on the floor and closing deals. I wasn't afraid if I needed to jump up out of my office and go find a customer on the lot that nobody was helping. I mean, I did what needed to be done. And I think that's something that's missing from a lot of the industries now, is somebody that doesn't say, oh, well, that's not my job.
Right.
Everything was my job. If I was there and anything needed to be done from the top to the bottom, inside out, I made it my job when I was there. So I did that, and it was great. It did keep me from growing high planes quite as much as I would have liked to, but it was comfortable, and comfort goes a long way. So when I finally made the move out of there, I've started focusing again on growing high planes. I went ahead, like I said, and bought lifetime deer blinds from another guy that was wanting to get out of the business, and loved the guy. I didn't let him out of the business. I bought it from him and told him he had to stay on and run it for me, and he does it. He's a good guy. But it, you know, the car business over all those years gave me the ability to do the things that I'm doing now with high planes. And it is not, there's a big barrier to entry when you get into the type of operation that I have, when you get into the amount of equipment that you have to have.
Yeah.
And the amount of leases that we have to pay to people.
Right. I can just imagine the up cost, the cost to have those access and the equipment is not cheap. No.
It's not cheap. And the vehicles, big part of it. You know, when you're hunting that type of land that we're hunting, we've got, I'm just going to, for ease of conversation, say I've got well over 1 million acres at this point that I've got around the Panhandle. We've got stuff from over by Quanah all the way up by Amarillo, down by Sweetwater, all the way over to the New Mexico border, just spread all through. And we cover a lot of land. Vehicles take a beating. There are people that make jokes about it. You've probably seen some posts where guys will get on and talk about driving through fields with me at night when I'm running my night vision and chasing down pigs, it's a good time. But the upkeep on vehicles is expensive. Getting in and out of vehicles, we put about 75,000 miles a year on each of the vehicles that we guide out of. If we're running three guides generally a year round. So there's that. Then the equipment, everything's man-made. I'm in Pulsar thermals, which I have been since the get-go. Now I've ran some other things as well. I've had some other companies that have reached out and we've done some things with, but I think Pulsar is still the best bang for the buck in the market.
Right. Yeah, I got one too. So.
They're fantastic.
Right there, they are. Are they a sponsor of yours? Do they sponsor you or they give you discount on the equipment?
For the longest time, everybody expects that.
Right.
But for the longest time, for years and years and years, I paid the same that everybody else would
Like
pay.
everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now we've worked some stuff out more recently on some trading. I'm still at the same value. We just have different ways of payment now. We do some things where they'll send some of their clients out that they want to have go out and do some things. We'll take care of them, and not just the thermal hunts, but we've got some pretty good deer hunts as well.
Yeah, I've seen lately on your post. Yeah.
They want to send people out to get some big deer. So we do some things like that, and it definitely helps. It's very appreciated for sure. But the guns, I've been running the same couple brands of guns for a long time. Black Bore rifles from Tate. He's taken care of me for years. Adam Tard, Evolve Weapon Systems, makes some fantastic guns as well. We run some of his. And then suppressors. Rex Selenium has been there with me for a long time. I've been a big advocate of them for a long time. They're great cans. I've recently started running some of the Diligent defense cans as well.
Like that's the one I got. I got the Enticer L. That's what I got. I not shot it though. I got it from Jimmy Killen.
Yeah,
I got it from him and got him last summer and still have not shot yet though.
You're gonna love it, man. I think that they're the lightest and quietest can to my ear. Now I don't know. You get into those guys in that market talking about putting them on the machines and seeing what the decibel levels are and whatnot. There might be an argument there that one's better than another. As far as I'm concerned, sitting down, shooting them, taking them out in the field, setting up, shooting on pigs. Right now, those Enticer TIs that I'm running, STIs.
Okay, titanium. Yeah.
They're the quietest and lightest can that I've ran. So love them to death.
The what price too? That's what I like. The price is just like Jimmy posted on his Facebook, whatever, and I was like, grabbed the phone, got me one, Jimmy. Yeah. And Jimmy, good guy. Shout out to Jimmy.
I like Jimmy. Jimmy's come out and hunted with me before. Jimmy's helped me a lot over the years.
Jimmy.
He's a good dude.
I hunted him before. Great guy. His dad, great guy. In fact, now talking about Jimmy and all about guns and suppressor, what kind of caliber do you use on your hunts? Mostly.
We're big on 6.8 SPC. We still get a lot of people out that have never heard about that, and they say, is that a 6.8 Grendel? No. It's 6.8 Creedmoor I've had asked. No, it's definitely not a 6.8 Creedmoor. That doesn't exist. But we love them. I think that, we ran 308s. We ran a couple of 223s. We don't run a lot of them. I've tried to love a 300 blackout, and you just won't catch me shooting them. Mm-hmm. The only 300 blackout that I've ran with efficiency is we ran a 249B 300 blackout saw, full auto belt fed on the front of a side-by-side. And when you can get up, 10, 15 yards from the pigs and mow them down with a 300 blackout, hey, that's pretty effective.
Yeah.
But when you're shooting at 100 yards at running pigs, there's better rounds out there. But we do the 6.8. Get my ammo from Druid Hill. Fantastic company. They've taken great care of me, even through the ammo shortage, everything else. Those guys have really stepped up and always made sure that I had equipment to use with my clients, which is can't say how grateful I was for that and am for that. But that's basically the equipment rundown. Night vision. I'm a big L3 guy when it comes to my tubes on my night vision.
L3, yeah.
Good quality night vision goes a long way when you're sneaking through fields. Whether people ask what's more important, the night vision or the thermal, and for somebody like me, I can't say that one's more important than the other for different reasons. Sneaking in on the pigs, traversing, you've got to have good night vision to be able to see where they're at, how you're going to walk in, where you're walking. We're walking in stuff that's got draws and creeks and
Right.
snakes and lots of things that we're
Lots of
trying to
stuff.
avoid. So night vision is very, very important. But then you've also got to have a good thermal to see the animals, good clarity. So equipment's important for sure.
So now that we're talking about the equipment, you're talking about Pulsar, L3, and all that stuff. How do you guys use a helmet with the monocular, or you just like use the old MVGs like back in the Army? We used to have the MVGs. And
Yeah, the PVS 7s.
PVS 7s, yeah.
We run helmet mounted everything.
Helmet mounted, okay. I mean, you have to have hands free. You got
Right.
tripods, and you got a bunch
And
of stuff.
scanning with the thermal while you're wearing the night vision. It becomes. I think people sometimes get a little concerned when they see us, but we're walking or driving up a turn row or something, and
Right.
you got the night vision watching the turn row, and you're scanning out the side of your eye this way out the window of the vehicle, watching, and you kind of, I guess you just acclimate yourself to looking at both.
Right, you get used to after a
Yeah,
while. You just
yeah.
basically one eye.
Yeah,
I did in the Army. We just like wear binoculars, and you get used to one eye to use the other. It's crazy. People think like, how you can do that, but you get used to
You
it.
get used to it for sure.
You get used to it.
There's been some TV shows that have made mention of it. I think it's funny. Chuck Belmore probably put it the best. It was one of the, I don't know, second or third time that the Habit came and hunted with us. And he said, man, you got to, and I didn't look at it this way, but he said, man, you really got to trust this guy. He said he's driving down these turn rows and through these fields at fairly high speeds when he's chasing some of these pigs, and you can't see your hand in front of your face. But I can see everything. But I don't think about sometimes the fact that, the clients can. I had the first guy that I ever guided, Steve Schreiner. Steve's a good dude. When we were done, he told me he was and I didn't know this to begin with, but he was a retired pastor. And he said, I got to tell you, man, that was the most religious experience I probably ever had. He said, God and I got real close while you were driving some of that stuff,
Right.
and I couldn't see anything. He said, I'm not going to tell you I didn't say some prayers.
Yeah,
We laugh about it.
It is challenging driving at night. It is.
Yeah.
It is. How
You got to have good equipment, and that's what I tell people.
Yeah, it's
You've got to
about
have
equipment.
good equipment to be able to do that and do it safely. You have to. So
Do you carry a thermal on your ATV or UTV?
I carry a handheld. I've ran.
Oh, 'cause some people, they got carry the
I've had a
camera on
couple.
top.
The problem that I have with the vehicle mounted thermals right now is I run night vision so much. The screen, even if you haven't ran night vision, a lot of people don't understand. You probably get it. That the backlighting on the screen, even if the screen's off, you're getting light coming through that screen if the power's going towards
Right.
it, and it'll blind you in the night vision. You can't see the definition that you need to see in those
Right.
fields when you've got that light coming on.
See, yeah, once you have artificial or natural light, it will kind of
Yeah,
it will
yeah.
make you blind.
Right.
And then even if you take your night vision off, you can.
Yeah,
It would affect you big time. It take about 30 seconds to a minute
to get back to normal.
normal.
When you're driving after pigs, chasing them down in the field, you don't have that much time.
No.
So I've actually got an idea right now that I'm gonna try to do for the side-by-side hunts that we do. We do the machine gun, running gun, side-by-side hunts and suppressed shotguns. And I've got an idea for some thermal that I'm gonna put it in the dash, the display. But the biggest problem we have in that is when you're going through these fields, it's generally right after harvest. There's a lot of dirt, it's dry,
Yeah.
there's dust everywhere.
It's just, yeah.
And so I'm running night vision, and then I'm driving, and I'm trying to pick my thermal up. If the pigs get directly out of the light, when we turn the lights on and turn the night vision off, there's dust clouds. And as the dust is rising, it gets up in your line of sight, and you lose track of where the pigs are turning. So I've got an idea to put something up that'll cover a pretty wide spectrum of the field in front of me, and it'll be able to display. I'm going to have it where it cuts the power completely to the display when I turn the white lights off. So when I hit that switch that's on the dash to turn the white lights back on, it powers up that display real quick, and I can see then on the display where the pigs are moving.
That's clever.
So I think it'll help.
It will help, and you don't have the white light coming up and blind you.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys use lasers like?
Yeah.
You guess
Yeah,
laser.
we've got D-balls that we run on the guns. Makes it more fun.
Right.
It makes it more effective. I mean, when you're bouncing through fields and stuff. Now we don't go through rough fields. We try not to when we're doing the running gun stuff. A lot of them are hay fields that have just been cut, peanut fields that have just been harvested, that type of stuff. So they're generally pretty smooth. But those lasers make it a lot easier than trying to look down a red dot or something like that.
All right, definitely.
And those guys over in the passenger seat, we generally run machine gun in the passenger seat or an AR in the passenger seat, depending on what the people have and bring and want to use. And then I'll run one of the shotguns out of the back driver's side that's long enough that we don't have to worry about them swinging too far. They're suppressed 12 gauges, the Benellis.
Mm-hmm.
And going through those fields, it's hard to aim if you don't have a laser. I tell them,
You gotta
watch that laser
off the shoulder, just aim and shoot.
Right.
Yeah.
So we run
and make it
green.
fun for the client too.
Exactly. They love it. They tell them, all right, turn that laser on, and they reach down, and you can see the joy coming over their face. When they turn that laser. They know it's about to happen. I know it's about to go down. So it's a good time.
What kind of shotgun shells do you use for your shotguns? Like you use
I run double lock buck.
double lock bucks. Yeah.
I've tried a bunch of different stuff. I don't remember the brand right off the top of my head, but it's an Academy brand that I think Academy is the only place that sells it. I get 2 3/4. I've tried the 3-inch. I don't get it. I don't really gain anything from it from the proximity that we're shooting. So I get boxes of 25 rounds of double lock buck. They're like $10 or $11 a box. Fantastic pricing. That's a normal price. That's not a sale price. And we run those, and we'll run cases at night.
Cases at night.
Oh, it's fun.
I seen videos. It looks fun. It just like I know the safety aspect about driving and shooting at night, and I just can't imagine how in the back of your mind to be like
you've got to know the field.
You got to be safe. Yeah,
you've got to get out, and this is the part that people don't see. We have to get out, and we have to know these fields very well. And when you're going and you're turning around in circles and you're going this way and that way, you have to have landmarks of some sort to know exactly where you're at, so you know where
you don't run into wires.
Lie.
Yeah.
Wires or more importantly for me, pothole washes, not potholes necessarily, but washes in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Things that are going to cause that side by side to have an issue. So we get out there and I do 99% of the side by side hunts myself, but I get out and drive them and walk them and try to know exactly where every little pebble and wash and everything else is going to be in that field, so we don't have any issues. But yeah, it's not real. If you go out there and you would run it, I've got a guy, Monty Bohannon, he's hunted with me for years, good buddy of mine, love the guy. He says, man, there's no way in hell I'm going to get in one of those things with you. He said, we're going out there at night driving. He's like, man, I just can't do it. Can't bring myself to do it. And he's got reason. I mean, you see accidents all the time. Nobody is above having an accident. We just do absolutely everything we can in our power to make sure that we don't have that by knowing the fields, knowing the equipment, keeping up with the equipment, making sure the brakes are great.
The equipment is
great. You can't be running across the field with a bent control arm. 40 miles an hour trying to chase pigs down. You're setting yourself up for failure really, really quickly.
Yeah, you do.
So we do everything we can to make sure everything stays real safe with that. I think the safest version of it we've done, which is also one of the more enjoyable. A few months back, we had a guy come in with a Humvee. He had the minigun up top, and
nice.
At one point in time, the minigun up top, the M60 out the passenger door, and an M240 out the back passenger door. And I think we were 9,000 rounds a minute, I think, was the rate of fire out of those three together.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
So
the minigun alone is like 4,000.
Yeah. We can go up to 5. They had it set at 4.
Okay.
That's exactly where they had it.
The low rate
is
spin,
4,000 rounds a minute, which is crazy. But it was a good time, though.
Yeah. I mean, how many rounds you guys shoot that night? Roughly that
I couldn't
even. You could even tell.
Guess. They brought their own stuff.
How many pigs you guys shot that night? I saw one post that you guys you had a stack of 5 pigs, right? And about 20 yards.
It was right before those guys came. I had another group that came in, and we just hunted in the side by side. And I think we got 500 pigs in 6 nights that we gathered up. That's not what got shot that ran off. That's what we gathered up and drove over and put in the pits.
500 pigs in
6
nights.
So
that's average like 90 pigs a night. That's crazy numbers.
Well, I say 6 nights. It wasn't just nights. That time, I had a new landowner. He's a big hay farmer. We had pigs everywhere in the hay. And so what he would do is he would go through and he would cut the hay, and he would leave 50, 75 yard wide strips that were about 150 yards apart in these big hay fields. And he would call me 11, 12 o'clock in the morning.
They there.
And say, hey, I'm ready to run these strips. Y'all come on. And so I would load up and I would go get the clients, and we would meet him down there, and he'd be sitting there having lunch. And when we get there, he'd start cutting those rows, and we'd follow along behind him. And he's got this little bitty dog, and that hay was so tall. I mean, that sorghum that he was cutting was well over 6 foot tall, and so he could see a little bit, but that dog knew exactly where those pigs were. And so he'd watch the dog, and he'd be on his phone with us. All right, well, you know, the dog's going crazy right over here to the right. Get ready, they're going to come out. And sure enough, we'd come around the other side, and they'd push out in the middle of the day, and we'd run them down and shoot them and get them out of the way, and do that all day long. And we'd leave and go get dinner, and then 10 o'clock or so at night, we'd go back out there at night after it's been cut, and the pigs are all right back out in there eating again, and just field after field after field like that.
It's like a never-ending story. You just keep shooting at night, day and night.
But it was one of those things that's what you're going for. That's what these guys were wanting to do.
The clients love it.
Good time, man. And not only that, that's stuff that we don't do regularly. You know, I don't regularly get to go out with a side-by-side and go give it to them for 15 hours a day. So we did about a week of that, and then after that is when the guy came in with the Humvee, and I think we killed, I don't even remember at this point, I want to say probably 50 or 75 pigs that night that they went out. And it was an issue of the Humvee. They actually reached back out to me 2 or 3 weeks ago now. We're scheduling another trip. I explained to them that the Humvee was not good for what we were doing. I mean, we were going across a wheat field, man, and you're looking at the stars, and you're looking at the ground, and you're looking at the stars, and you're looking at the ground.
Yeah, they're very bouncy.
Because it's extremely bouncy going through. I mean, just wheat
It's
fields.
rough, too.
Just wheat fields, yeah. I mean, you're not talking about anything with terraces or just up and down and up and down. And that definitely didn't help anything. Trying to keep control of that, and not being able to aim real well, you know. They're on turrets on the minigun, but when it's up and down and up and down, and he's trying to keep that laser on those pigs, it made it hard.
Right.
So they just bought a brand new Can-Am and tore it completely down and basically refabricated. And we've got a turret mount on the top of the Can-Am now for 134, and I think they've got some swing arms on the side for the other guns. The guy's got a pretty good collection of toys.
Right.
So
I need to come and see for this.
Yeah, and you're not the first person that said, "Man, I need to come and check this out." I think so,
because the footage alone that I will get, I don't need to shoot. I just need to be there recording. That would be for me. That would be like the highlight of my night. I don't care.
Well, and that was the crappy thing about when we did it is these guys brought some really good camera equipment, and we attached it. I mean, they had custom mounts made that would go on the Humvee on the back like a flag, and it would go up with the 360 cameras. And we have a couple of 360 cameras we've never found that are out in the field somewhere. And they're not cheap cameras.
No, they're not.
But, we get out of the field and we go to turn the cameras off and the cameras are gone.
Wow.
And then you drive back in and you look.
You will never find them. I mean, if you drove 300 acres or more.
And that's the problem is the fields that we were in are 2,000 and 3,000 acre pieces of property that we've been running lines all around.
For hours on
there.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
But that footage would have been fantastic. So I think they're gonna, when they come back with the Can-Am, we'll put some more cameras on it, and it'll be pretty epic.
It will be. I mean, it just the pictures that I've seen, the videos that I've seen, 10-second videos. It looks fun.
That's like blast.
How that affects you on the getting leads for more clients, because that helps. Social media helps, and once you post those videos, people be like, "Hey, do you have a room for 5? Do you have a room for 4? How much you can accommodate?" And those building a business, and like you mentioned, having the right equipment, serviceable equipment, and different amounts of the equipment is very, you can scale from there. Mm-hmm. But right now, how many people can you accommodate at once? Because it's difficult, but how many people can you accommodate at once?
The biggest group that we've had in at once was 23.
23.
23 people.
That is insane.
Providing everybody their own weapon and thermal and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little bit more than I liked. I think that's a little bit too many. We can do it, but I don't think that we're so worried and we're so spread so thin that I wasn't happy with the way that it all worked out in the long run.
Right.
I'm really, really open and welcoming to groups of 12 or 14.
Those more attainable, more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you get a little bit bigger areas to hunt. And the problem with a group of 23 is they all wanted to stay in the same place. And so even though we've got all the land we have, there are 3 or 4 areas that we could go to that we could split up and take groups of 5 or 6 at a time into these different areas. But we couldn't drive them. Hey guys, get in. We're going to drive 3.5 or 4 hours over here by New Mexico and hunt all these peanuts over here, and then drive 3 or 4 hours back after a full hunt. They didn't want to do that.
Right.
So, and that might be group specific as well, but it definitely didn't help when we were all staying within an hour and a half of the hotel, one direction or the other. It kind of cut down on the amount of land that they can hunt, because in a given night, we'll try to hunt 1 or 2 areas of, I'm just going to throw a number out of, say, 50,000 acres per area. And they might be 10 miles apart in some of these areas, or 15 miles apart that we get to the edges of the new area. But when you're doing that and you've got 5 or 6 groups that are doing it all in one area, or all in an hour and a half, you don't hunt as much fresh ground over a 3-day weekend as what I'd like to. So that didn't help. You were asking about social media. I give 99% of the credit of me building High Plains to social media. It was huge.
It is. It just also another question. Do you guys do corporate events, like for corporations, or
we can?
You do.
That's actually the group of 23.
You guys do bachelor parties too, because sometimes hey, we want to do that or not.
We do a lot of those. The corporate deal actually came from the car business that Group 1 Automotive sent a bunch of their GMs, is what it was.
Nice.
They did a deal with Caltex Products, brought them and paid for all the GMs, or a lot of the GMs in this market, to come up and hunt with us for those days. So that was a big corporate event. But we've got 3 lodges right now that are getting finished up that we'll be able to keep clients in. We haven't for this whole time, 6.5 years or whatever it's been now. I've been using Hotel Turkey, and it worked well while it was there. They're starting to get big enough now that they're staying busy there for years. It wasn't an issue. If we needed rooms, there were going to be rooms there. And so we always had the availability. People book last minute. It happens. And over the last year, they've gotten busy, which congratulations to them. I want everybody to succeed and eat.
Right.
But it's gotten a little bit harder to get rooms on short notice. So we went ahead and pulled the trigger, and we've got some stuff working with some landowners, and we'll have 3 different lodges right there within a couple miles of where
Nice.
the guys stay when we're up north. And then from that area, we've got access to a large majority of land that we hunt on during, year round. Some of the places that we hunt, we only do a couple, 3-4 months out of the year due to the crops that are there, the big population where we're going to find them. There's some places that they're going to be real thick. A lot of my southern dirt, they're going to be real thick mid to late March through 1st of June. They're going to be thick down there. So we hunt that at that time down there. Then there's times that we're going to have a lot of stuff during the winter when it's a little bit slower. We've got some stuff that produces good pigs in wheat cover crops. So we've got 3 or 4 months there that we'll hunt. So we move around a little bit. Yeah.
Another question that I have, and just kind of staying the same subject about hunting pigs. What is the impact that you do in the farming community? Because people say, okay, I hunt pigs and whatnot, but now that you have so many properties and you're helping so many farmers, what is their reaction when you provide the service and you kind of like clean out and kind of like control the population? What is their feedback?
That's actually one of my favorite things. I got a text. There's one of the landowners that I've taken care of from almost the very start. I call him a big landowner. He's probably doesn't own quite as much as some of the other guys, but to begin with, he was my big landowner. And you talk about a good dude. This guy, you can't beat him. Fantastic guy. He texted me the other day just out of the blue, and his peanuts are finally sprouting out right now. We've been watching his peanuts for the last couple of weeks, and he said, "Man, I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you. We couldn't have done this stuff now like we are now a few years back. The pigs would have destroyed us, and peanuts are sprouted. We've got almost 100% growth.
Nice.
We really, really appreciate you. And it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you're out there making a difference. I was really worried about that guy because while the pigs, they come and go, and people don't understand that they move, and you might have a lot of pigs in an area that gets on a 5,000 or 6,000 acre ranch. It kind of stays there for a month or two, and then they move on or whatever.
Right.
But I guess back in mid to late October, the pigs showed up with a vengeance. I mean, there were more pigs in that area than there have ever been since I started. And that's kind of the original heart of where High Plains started, was right on that guy's stuff. And we'd make jokes last year about, we hadn't seen but a couple pigs on your property. We're having to go to everybody else's property to find them because pigs don't like your stuff anymore. And then, he's hooping and hollering, and he's excited about that. And then October comes around, November, and they're everywhere. I mean, every field we look in, there's 20, 30, 40 pigs. There's groups of 60 and 70 in some of them.
Wow.
And they're just destroying everything. And so normally, I would say on average, we do a lot more predator hunting in January, February, March than we do pigs. And I had to make a little change because there were so many pigs, and I knew that if we didn't try to stay on top of them, we weren't going to be able to take care of the peanuts. So we did a lot more pig hunting this winter than what we normally do. And we had fantastic numbers. I mean, like,
give me a round number.
Good numbers.
Do you keep track of
I used to.
You used to keep track on the numbers?
I stopped. It got to the point where it was more of an issue. Yeah,
right.
I mean, I was going to mess up. People were going to miscount. And then you got the guys. I'm keeping the real count in my phone. And these guys, you got the clients, and I love them all. Not everybody does this. There's some of them that do and some of them that don't. But you walk into a field and you see guys that'll shoot 4 or 5 pigs, and you're watching them in the thermal and the night vision as they're shooting, and they're going to kill 4 or 5 out of a group of 40, and they're hooping and hollering at each other that they just killed 15 pigs. And
it happens.
I miss some of those. I can't tell you
right.
didn't, but hey, great, man, good job. And then the way that we fixed that and rectified that is we go put our hands on them, go up, take pictures, drag them up in piles, get them off the fields.
Yep.
And that way we've got real numbers. There was a group of guys that came in, I don't know, it's been not quite a month ago. They killed 227 that we put our hands on in 4 nights.
Yeah.
That was a 4-night hunt.
I counted for 227.
227. And that's not what got shot.
One night.
No, that's 4 nights.
4 nights. 4 nights. It's still a lot.
It's still
a lot. It's about 60 a night. Yeah. I mean, come on. It's just, it's crazy number. Even 10 at night is good numbers, but 60 at night.
Yeah. And
that's insane.
Just night after night for 4 nights.
Wow.
So that was before the peanuts went in the ground. That's hitting wheat fields. So they did that. Now there's groups that'll come out and they'll say they've shot a ton. They had the opportunity to shoot at them. I don't know that they hit all of them. And I tell people all the time, I can do everything but pull the trigger for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, we can put people on pigs that I've got video I can show you. You'd crack up. You walk up, we're 40 or 50 yards from a group of pigs, and you go to count down, and I say, okay, take them off safety, 3, and then one guy shoots. And then everybody else.
All hell broke loose.
Everybody else is yelling and cussing at him as they're trying to find pigs to shoot as they're running out of the fields, and it happens all the time.
Right.
We see all types, but putting your hands on the pigs really helps. And the last time I counted was years ago. I mean, that I actually kept a good, accurate count. It was probably my first year of actually doing High Plains, and we were just over 5,000 pigs in a year, which
it is insane.
That's a lot, but when you look at the amount of land that we have now with the amount of, we had the helicopters out last month. We killed 850 pigs, give or take.
You guys do helicopters too, or just?
Well, I'm working with Andy Anderson from Executive Outdoors on the helicopters.
Down in Denton, right?
He's up
down
in that
there.
area.
I would like to interview him once.
He's a good dude, man. You'd like him.
I would like to.
He reached out, and we've talked about it for years. And it got to a point where I've gotten so much land that we can't really thermal hunt, that people want help with. You go out onto some of these cattle ranches. Got one place that we picked up that's 100,000 acres contiguous.
Wow.
And then I've got another place that's a couple more places that are right at 40,000, 36 to 40,000 in the general area that are contiguous. I say that one of them's got a couple of them have highways that just cut through them, but otherwise they're contiguous. And you can't thermal hunt those. You get in and you've got, with the amount of cattle that are in the bushes and in the brush and the amount of brush that you've got, it makes it dangerous. And the last thing that we want is to set somebody up to have an incident with a cow or something. So we bring the helicopters in. And, man, we put a hurting on them. These guys came in and they flew for 2 days and got about 850 pigs in 2 days. And when you've got one group coming in the week before that shoots 227, and then you've got a guy or 3 guys coming in the next week that hunt 2 days and kill 850, we're probably going to blow that 5,000 number
again,
way out of the ball.
Way up, yeah.
But again, it got to the point where when you've got as many guides taking them and wanting to put hands on them to count them, it's too hard to take care of, to keep up with.
It is. I mean,
We just
especially
try to kill all we can.
especially driving around and just collect them, putting hands on them. Because sometimes you got a pig or two that might get hurt and died like 50
run off the field,
off the field, and then you find them either the night or the next day,
or you don't even see them. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we've got are on the river bottoms. They're running right off of different fingers of the Red River. They get down in there. We're never going to find them. There's so many coyotes where we're at. They'll have a pig eaten in.
That's good. I mean, coyotes will get in same night. That wouldn't be done.
There's coyotes everywhere.
I seen people just leaving couple dead pigs and just
come back
predator hunt
off of them.
Right. Just wait at night, just living there, and they get the predators. Get the coyotes. That is fun too. I've seen people doing it. So for me, I hunt pigs and coyotes, but not as much. Coyotes, not as much as pig. I mean, I would like to go more coyote hunt and a deer hunt. That's my next two.
Yeah.
But pigs are fun.
That's what I built my business on. I talk a lot about pigs, and obviously we offer bobcats and coyotes and deer, whitetail, mule deer, both.
Right.
We've got a little bit of turkey that we do. I've got a guy that works with me a lot and does a lot of the duck hunting on our stuff. We've got a lot of birds, a lot of crane. I don't really do a lot of that guiding myself. Got another guy that handles that, but the pigs are what started it, man. That's what everybody wanted to come do, and that's kind of still my main focus. We've got people that want to come out and shoot pigs. The coyotes are great. We've got people that book and want to come in and do a week-long coyote hunt.
Wow.
It's not uncommon for us to see 10 or 12 coyotes in one field
really?
At a time, and we see that in a couple of fields, 3 or 4 fields a night sometimes. So
that's a lot of coyotes.
We have a lot of coyotes. We do.
I mean, given the terrain, how much land do you guys manage? I can't expect a lot because it's a lot. It's a ground to be covered. So I just imagine
the food source. I mean,
the
coyotes they're going to expand the population up to the food source limits. Well, when you've got somebody coming in and dragging 10 or 15 pigs to the edge of the properties right there where they're at a night, a couple of nights a week, or one night a week every week, where you've got 20 or 30 pigs right there for them to eat on. The food sources. Right,
you keep him in there. Yeah. The more to come, you pick him in there. I mean, that's nice and keep the business rolling, which is a good thing. Tell me a funny story about one specific hunt that you had. It was like the most fun that you had in the hunt. I know you have many because you've been in this business for a couple of years, but the most memorable stories that you can ever imagine. I know you probably have funny stories, people just fighting and not shooting any pigs.
But I'm sure I've got some. That wasn't on the forefront of my mind. Probably the most memorable, one of the ones that I enjoy the most, is there's a young lady that has got some conditions, some issues, that lives up in Pampa, Texas, and her name is Lauren. And I remember the first time we had Lauren out to hunt. She's in a wheelchair. She got in a car accident when she was, I think, 3 or 4 years old, and it did some damage. Having her in and having her, the look on her face and her reactions when she shot her first pig, and we worked at it. You talk about working. I mean, this girl's in a wheelchair and she's got some issues with mobility, and so. At this point, back then we had to get different things set up for her, but at this point I got Pulsar has stepped on board with her, and they sent her a scope, and Tate built her a gun, and Rex got her a can, and so she's got her own setup now. But what we have to do when she comes out is we'll be in a side-by-side, golf cart preferably, and we get out, and her dad's riding with us, and Lauren sits on the outside, and her dad will sit in the middle, and I'll drive, and her dad holds the iPad. And when we get to an animal, I've got to sneak around the other side and get the tripod set up with her gun and get the connection going to the iPad. Mm-hmm. Her dad holds the iPad. And if you really think about this, if you hunt, I want you to imagine aiming 45 degrees out to the right while you're looking right here at an iPad, and you've got to maneuver your gun and your scope to aim at an animal out here while you're looking over here at this iPad. It's not easy.
No.
And she's got it mastered, man. It's so much fun watching her do it. And so she's got to look at that iPad, and she maneuvers her gun around and finds the animal and records it. And it's fantastic. Love it.
Technology has helped a lot of people, though. Mm-hmm. So far, we couldn't done that 10 years ago.
No, we couldn't have done it 5 years ago.
Not even 5 years ago. It would be crazy to think about. You would think about it, you'd be like, man, that's science fiction. You would never do that.
Well,
and now you have the technology. It kind of helps a lot.
The cost of it 5 years ago would have been, I mean, it was probably physically possible, but the costivity involved in doing something like that for somebody that wants to do that was outrageous.
It would be plus the $10,000.
Oh, yeah.
It would
easily.
be like $18,000 to get equipment like that.
Back then, at least.
Now you can get it for about $3,000.
Yeah.
$2,500.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you got the iPad and then the Pulsar scope, which,
right.
You know, I think she's running a C50, the night vision, digital night vision scope is what she's running. She's running a lot of thermals with us, but that was the scope that Pulsar got her, and she likes it, I think. But you know, Wi-Fi to the iPad, and she can sit there and watch the whole thing. It's fun. And as far as funny stories, man, I really don't know. I can't think of a lot of the funny ones off the top of my head. There's been a bunch of them. I'm sure, you know, where you talk about chasing stuff down and people falling out of vehicles and tripping over each other and
do you have people falling out of vehicles? I mean, I could imagine people just kind of
really like just falling over. I mean, I had a guy out 2 weeks ago, and it was funny to everybody but the guy shooting, because we got this wounded boar and it was in some really tall weeds. So I said, okay, well, we're gonna have to pull in and put him down. And we get out there and the boar's right next to the truck, and I can see him, and I'm like, he's right there. And this guy shoots and he unloads a full magazine, and I'm talking this pig's 5 feet from the truck, and he's already hurt. I don't think he hit him out of a full magazine. He was so hyped up and
wow.
I think he hit him, and one of his buddies said, okay, listen, we're going to get that close again. Take it by the barrel this time and swing it like a golf club. You're going to have better luck with it. And everybody, you know, I think giving people a hard time a little bit is probably the most fun part of it. You know, a little camaraderie amongst buddies and you know, little ribbon obviously goes a long way. Right.
Now, moving to like deer hunts, because for me, deer is just like a fascinating animal to hunt. Never hunt one, but I just like to see them in the wild, just walking around and how they react. Now that you provide the deer hunt, how big are the deer? Like deer are here in the Lubbock area? Because I know down in Houston, Corsicana area, they're kind of like 140, 130 pounds. But how big are
a lot of the stuff we do is not right around Lubbock. It's a couple hours away from here for the deer. We had a 185 shot this year, mule deer. There was a whitetail that got taken on our fence line, I think, from what I've been told. The rough score was 205 on it.
That's a big boy.
It's a big whitetail for sure. We see some giants, and people don't understand. The giants are giants for a reason. They're not dumb. They're not easy to hunt. They're not easy to kill. We've seen some deer that I think will probably bust twos in the mule deer family. That whitetail is probably the biggest whitetail I've seen out there. I had a couple guys in that saw that deer with me. Sean Casey from DNA Firearm Systems put his eyes on that one. He wasn't he wasn't deer hunting when that happened, but the mule deer, we've got some giants. The problem that we have out there is there's a lot of highway access and a lot of county road access to the properties that we have these deer on. Poaching is an issue. Poaching's a big issue. I
could just imagine. I mean, like you have a vast area and not many houses around.
There's nobody around.
There's
a college town 20 minutes away. You catch people all the time. Back when, a couple years back, I had an agreement with the game warden that was there. That has since changed with the new game warden. But if I was on a county road that wasn't paved, a dirt road, I could run night vision with my lights off and going to and from our fields, And when I could do that, man, I would see poachers all the time. I would say, that you're running good night vision and a spotlight that goes across the sky 5 or 10 miles down the road, sticks out like a sore thumb. So we would run over, and I caught quite a few guys with spotlights trying to shoot deer off our property and ran them off, and I hadn't been able to do that as much without running the night vision as much. And
right. Even with thermals, you can see them far out. I mean, night vision is better.
We got some elevation changes and whatnot, a lot of trees, and
right.
The poachers get away with it a little bit more now than they used to. So,
yeah, I would. For catching poachers wide in the open, for me, I would pick night vision.
Oh,
you can spot
if you're running the spot, they're running spotlights. you see it from forever.
Forever.
Because they're always, I don't care how careful somebody's going to be. If they're out poaching, they're going to hit a bump. They're going to do something, and that light's going to go up in the air.
Gonna bounce, yeah.
And then that's when you see that out in an area that there's not anybody in, you know somebody's out doing that.
Right.
So back then I could call one of the sheriffs and
Get him.
I'd follow in behind the people and let the sheriffs come in, or the game warden if he was in the area.
Pick them up.
And stop and visit with them. So
Yeah, I mean, it happens a lot. I mean, I've seen videos, people like posting, they got the little spy cam, they got the little tech cam in the properties, and poachers, they just like walking like they own the property, and they get caught all the time. I mean, I don't know why people does that, and what are they thought process just to come in the property that they do not own.
Yeah.
Just hunted the property and just basically walked out like nothing ever happened.
I catch a lot of people that their story is that they came from other states. I caught a guy last year,
Mm-hmm.
him and his wife driving around in a little white Toyota Corolla, a deer rifle in his lap. I pulled up and he was sitting in the middle of one of my properties. Didn't have a fence around it, but it's still one of our properties. And he said, "Oh, well, where we come from, if there's not a fence around it, you can hunt it." I said, "Well, unfortunately here, that's not the case.
Right.
You can't hunt this stuff. You can't shoot these deer." And he was sitting there looking at one of our real big mule deer. It was out of season too. It was during whitetail season. But I think a lot of the big deer that we had 3 deer that Landry and Cody and I were watching for 2 years. And man, nerve-wracking. They would stand right on the edge of one of our properties in a bar ditch next to a blacktop highway 20 miles from that college town all night long every night. And we're like, man, these things are going to get shot. They're going to get poached. And they're not there anymore. I don't know what happened to them. I can assume that they probably got poached. One of the game wardens said that one of the game wardens came to me and told me that they found guts on a neighboring property, and they didn't even know that we had the property leased right across the road from it. But they came concerned about that deer or the guts that they found. And I'm like, yeah, man, we got that place leased right across the road. Like, I want to catch these people. Like, these people with the mule deer regulations the way they are, there's only a certain amount of deer that you can shoot. Got to be 20 inches wide, got to be old and mature. I'll sell 6 mule deer hunts a year, and that's it. I want everybody to come in and get a deer, and we can take, generally off the amount of land we hunt, we can generally take 6 deer a year.
Nice.
Maybe an extra 1 or 2 certain years, but 6 is all I'm going to sell to make sure that we have good genetics and a crop for the next following years. A lot of people don't look at it that way, but the agreement that I've got with that landowner, I'm going to be paying him a lot of money for that land as long as I'm going to have high plains. And the way that we make some of that money back is on the mule deer hunts. And if I let all of them get shot this year and I don't have any of them to get shot next year, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, so. It takes a lot of time and hours just to keep eye on those property, because like you said, people go poach and live with it, and it happens a lot. They
glorify it in a lot of places nowadays, which blows my mind. You get on certain Facebook pages and they talk about the guy down outside of Corpus that's written books about being the prince of poachers or whatever, and it's glorified. And that part,
and you got a lot of copycats. They read that and they're like, I think I'm gonna do the same, and they just copycat and
they think it's funny or they think it's cool, and it blows my mind.
It does.
It's stealing.
It does to me.
It's all it is stealing.
Right. It is stealing. Now talking about deer hunt, what caliber do you use? Because a lot of people don't know about deer hunt or mule deer. What caliber do you use for those?
We let people bring their own. I try to make everybody run at least a 270 if we're hunting a mule
270 or above.
On whitetail, people bring 243s a lot.
Right.
So I'm fine with that. Shot placement's what matters. We're going to get out and take a couple of shots and make sure people can hit what they're needing to hit before we go out into the field.
You guys do sighting before, like make sure they're sighted in.
We got a couple of gun ranges out there, a couple of places we can shoot. And
nice.
Targets and whatnot. So make sure their equipment's running good and sighted in and whatnot before deer hunts especially.
That sounds good. Now, I know people gonna see this video probably later on, 2-3 years or 2-3 months. But right now, as May 2024, what are the price range of your hunts? Like, let's kind of ballpark. It probably change in the future, but right now, May 2024, what are the price range of the hog hunts and deer and mule deer and the ducks when they season?
We start On the hog stuff and the coyote stuff, it's $500 a person per night if we provide all the equipment.
Okay.
$400 a night per person if they bring all of their own equipment. We ask for a minimum of 3 people on the hog hunts, a minimum of 2 people on the coyote hunts and bobcat hunts. Same price on the bobcat. On a bobcat, if they're going to do a bobcat specific hunt, we ask for a 3-night hunt to be able to get it done to where we know you're going to take a bobcat home. You know, that's one thing, is they're not quite as plentiful as the other animals out there, but we do have them. So we've got a almost 100% success rate, I believe, on bobcats, at least on the opportunities.
That's good.
We've had a couple people come in and shoot a few times, and not connect, but I think, you know, nerves. A lot of people kind of have that bobcat on their bucket list, and they get one walking across the field, sneaking across the field at 100 yards in front of them, and they get a little bit nervous and you know, pull a shot. So, but those are $500 a night per person. A running gun hunts right now with the way that we've got them set up, they're $4,000 a night. That's for 3 people in the side-by-side. Or a lot of people will bring in 6 people, and we'll switch out. We'll go, one group will go on the side-by-side in this area, and the other 3 will get into a vehicle with one of the other guides and go to another area and spot and stalk.
Okay.
And then they're going to swap out during the night, and both, that way they get a little bit of both.
And that would be, you say, $4,000?
Well, it's $4,000 for the side-by-side, and then there would be 3 guys doing the spot and stalk.
Okay.
So they would add $1,500 for that. Whitetail this year, we're doing $5,000 all inclusive with lodging, and the mule deer are $7,500.
$7,500.
Our whitetail averaged, I want to say, Cody was telling me, he was the one that was keeping up with it. I want to say he said our whitetail averaged 159 this year.
Nice.
It's a pretty solid average. Our mule deer averaged, we had a really high average on a mule deer this year. We didn't have any smaller deer shot. I think we averaged like a 163, I think is what he said, on mule deer, which is pretty solid deer.
It's pretty solid.
You know, these deer most of them aren't even fed. I mean, we hunt peanut fields and wheat fields.
They just
cotton
like
fields, yeah.
Grass fed and all
There's
that.
no fencing. There's no breeding. There's nothing. It's 100% free range.
It is, because now I seen a lot of hog hunts for $100, and you know, it just like
that place is driving me crazy.
You know, I seen those a lot, and also I seen the one with the weight limits. They just like, you know, it's like, okay,
They charge per
pound. And I was like, really, come on. I mean, you pay $250, sometimes $300 plus. If you over 80 pounds, you pay like $1, $2. And let's say you want to hunt a $150 hog, you ended up paying almost $500 at the end of the day for one pig.
To sit in a blind and watch a green light all night long, shoot one pig that was more than likely trapped somewhere else, brought in, released on that property for you to shoot.
Right. And they do that. I mean, they know there's no pig under X amount of pounds. All of them probably are over 100 pounds, 120.
And they're paying, you know, $30, $40 for that pig.
Right. I mean, I'm not trying to bash on people, but that's the reality of it. I mean, it's just...
I can't stand it because it gives people an idea that that's what Texas has to offer. And I deal with a lot of people. Some of the better clients I've had, they kind of balked at my pricing to begin with. There's a guy, I'll say his name, and I think anybody should reach out to him that's looking for a place to hunt. His name is Scott Shepard from Michigan. He called me, this was years ago, asked me pricing, said he wanted to bring his wife and son on a hunt. And I told him, and he wasn't okay with the pricing. He thought it was a little high, and he found a place to go that was cheaper. And I told him, great, you know, good luck. I wish you all the best. And he called me a couple months later when he was here. He got down to Texas, and he was there for one day, and he called me, and he said, dude, listen, I screwed up. He said, we're down here. This guy's driving us around. He's wasted drunk. Nothing at all is what it was said to be. We're here. He's already gotten all of our money. I don't care. I want to have an experience with my family. Can y'all work me in? And at that point, I had Kayla helping me guide, and Kayla took them out. I had another group booked in, but I had Kayla come in and help me, and she took them out, and they had the experience. They shot some pigs, and Scott and his family have come back once or twice a year since. And you know, we joke about it. You know, he was a little bit chinchy to begin with and cheap, and he got what he got. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that, man. Everywhere you look now, there's somebody starting out an outfitter. You know, they get 400 acres. The place and I'm not going to name them, but there's a place right now that is every day they're putting posts out on every page, $100 hunts, hog hunts.
I know we should.
Coyote hunts, bobcat hunts.
It start with a B.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
And I talked to the guy when he was getting started. I reached out like I was a client just to find out the story, and he's got just over 400 acres. He hunts 6-hour hunts, and he'll hunt 2 to 3. To begin with, he was hunting 3 hunts a day. Now I don't know if he's doing as many, but basically there was a blind and a feeder on 400 acres, or a couple of blinds and feeders on 400 acres, and he was running multiple hunts per blind per day. Anybody that does this very regularly knows you hunt 400 acres 18 hours a day
to get burned
for a month. You're not going to have crickets left on the place. Nothing wants to be out there. And he was doing that. They've been doing it now for quite a while.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, every now and again they'll post a picture with somebody getting a pig, and I find it funny if you go to the reviews. They have a lot of bad reviews that they cover up, but the ones that are good say, "Oh well, it was the host was great and the land was beautiful."
That's
and
it.
And you ask them, "Well, did you get an animal?" No, but it's not always about that. I don't know where those clients are, but people that are coming out to pay to hunt with us, they're not coming out for conversation. They're not coming out to look at the peanut fields. They're coming out to kill stuff. And that's what I tell people. I've told them for years. People don't come to hunt with us. People come to kill.
Right.
And
that's the main purpose. I mean, get the money's worth.
That's what we're here for. For not just for them, but for our landowners.
Right.
We've got these guys that we've got these agreements with that we're doing this stuff with, and they need results. They need these pigs gone. Seems to be an infinite supply of incoming pigs. I used to worry when I was a year or two into this, and I'm like, man, what's going to happen to these pigs? We're going to kill all these pigs. We're not going to have any left. The other guys that were in the area, there's one guy that's got a place he's had for a lot longer than I've had High Plains, right in the middle of kind of the heart of our stuff. And he told me one day, right when I was getting started, we didn't get along well to begin with. We get along great now. When we first were getting started up there, he told me, he said, "Dude, you're going to put us both out of business." He said, "You can't come in and kill this many pigs every night and us still be able to offer pig hunts. It's not going to happen." And at that point in time, I didn't really know the guy all that well, and I didn't care to. And I said, my agreement with these farmers is to kill all the pigs we can. That's why I've got this stuff. That's why we've got these agreements, and we're doing this, and I'm not going to go back on that with them. And we've learned since that we're never going to kill all the pigs.
No.
I mean, we can go out.
So
I tell people now, in my opinion, if a group can come out and shoot halfway decent, if they kill and put their hands on 20 pigs a night, I consider that a good night.
Right.
There are people that you see posting that I saw a guy the other day. I don't know if it was him being cheeky or not, but he said they went out and hunted 3 or 4 hours and they only killed 75 pigs and it wasn't worth leaving home at that point in time. Listen, if you go out for 2 or 3 or 4 hours and you kill 75 pigs every time you go out, and it's not worth your time because you didn't kill over 100 in 2 or 3 or 4 hours, I don't know what to tell you. We're not going to do that every night. It's not going to happen.
Yes, it's nearly impossible, though.
That's when I've gone out. We've chased the 100 number with some of the best shooters that I know, on some of the best ground that I know, not just my ground, on other people's ground. We went down Riley Olson and Cutter Coiler, myself, Matt Sklasky, Wesley Knoll, J.C. Stelzer, went down going for 100, and I think we ended up with 98. The weekend before or after that, I don't remember exactly, 1 week difference, we went up with Gage Porter and some of his buddies that could, and Wesley and Matt and me and JC, guys that can shoot. I mean, I was probably the worst shot out of the group. At least I'm going to claim that. And we didn't hit 100, and we had pigs. You hustle, but when you're gathering those pigs up for a picture, that might be what they're doing, but every time that we're shooting them, actually I say that I had Cody and Landry come behind us on one of those hunts and gather the pigs up as we're leaving the field. But you've got the disruption in that field for the whole time they're doing that, keeping the pigs from coming back onto that field. When you're circling back around them, it affects it. But 100 pigs a night.
It's insane.
Wild. That's
insane.
wild.
Insane. I think the most that I killed myself, about six pigs. Just walking.
Yeah.
But it is hard. Yeah. I mean, you found 20, and if you kill, out of the 20, you kill 10, you're a pretty good shooter.
Fantastic. People don't get that.
I mean,
the one complaint that I've had, I think
the most that I kill is 5. I mean, just like
I think the funniest deal that I've had from, and it made me super mad then. I look back at it and laugh now. There was a guy that booked out of Austin, wanted to bring his friends in and kill pigs. During the summer, I was on vacation with my family. They hunted with Landry, and Cody was out there helping drag pigs behind them. So they were both out there. And we get off the water. We're fishing down around Baffin Bay. We get off the water, and my phone's it was like it was ringing the whole time. I guess I didn't have service, but all these voicemails come up and all these text messages from this guy. So I'm thinking something's wrong. So I wanted to get a background, so I called Landry, and I'm like, "Hey, man, how did last night go?" And he said, they didn't shoot very well, but we saw a bunch of pigs. They shot. I said, "How much ammo are they shooting?" He said, "Well, they actually all shot right at 40 rounds apiece with 4 guys. They shot 160 rounds of ammo. How many pigs they killed?" He said, "We killed like 5." I'm like, "Well, okay,
they had their chance.
It happens."
Mm-hmm.
So I called this guy back, and I had no idea at this point in time what I was going to get hit with, but he answers the phone and he's mad. He's mad. And I was like, "Well, what's going on?" He told me that I was false advertising, and he was going to let everybody know that I was false advertising. I'm customer oriented. I'm not mean to anybody. I'm going to hear everybody out. And I said, "Well, I hate to hear that. Can you give me some insight as to what you feel was false advertisement?" He said, "Yeah, man, you got all these pictures all over your social media of all these stacks of pigs." So we came in and we wanted a picture with a big stack of pigs. We killed 5 pigs. I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, did you see pigs?" "Oh yeah, we saw a ton of pigs." Okay. Did the equipment work? "Oh, the equipment worked. We just couldn't. I don't know if they weren't sighted in or what. We couldn't kill them." And I said, "Well, did you have any lone pigs that you went?" "Oh yeah, well, if we had a lone pig and we all shot it died." "Well, the equipment's probably sighted in." He comes back and said, "Well, they just didn't die, man. They wouldn't die. It's crap. You're false advertising. You make it look like it's easy to come out and kill this many pigs. And that's the whole reason we did it, is we wanted one of those pictures." What do you say to that guy? What do you come back as a business owner and it was still pretty early on. What do you say to that? They wouldn't die. They're tough. I tell people all the time, pigs are one of the most resilient animals I've ever seen. They will soak up rounds of anything you want to shoot at them. I've got a guy that brings out a Nemo, the 300 Win Mag, the Nemo Omen, and I've seen him hit a boar 4, 5, 6 times on the run, and the boar not fall down. Now, it ended up dying, but it didn't drop in its tracks.
Sometimes they run like 200 yards, 300 yards before they die.
And on some of our fields, you can watch your dog run away for a week. They're long, flat fields, and you can watch them run out there half a mile and then fall over. Or they run out and they spin in a circle when they get out there by half a mile.
Spin off that,
kick around in a circle like a fish out of water. It happens, but that was probably the one complaint that I can think of that people had was that I thought was unjustifiable. Now we're at the mercy of nature and animals and a lot of things. And I will say that I think we probably have better results than 99.9% of the people out there that do what we do, because we have a lot of ground to cover and we've got a lot of pigs to hunt. I had a group come in, a group of 12 from Denver Lumber Company. And this was back 3 winters ago when it got really, really bad. It was like negative 23 degrees when we were out hunting.
About the freeze. It was
back that really, really bad freeze.
2019, I believe.
Was it?
Yeah, that freeze.
It was a while back. But I remember these guys came in and we hunted that first night, and we were getting pelted in the face by snow and sleet walking through these fields, and we went out and we killed 10 pigs, maybe. It might have been between 6 and 10. But we worked for them. There's 12 guys. We worked for them. They weren't moving. It was negative 23 degrees. There's not
they're not moving. Yeah.
And we had to go the next night, and I told these guys up front, I said, "Listen, I've never canceled a hunt. I'm not going to cancel on y'all. We're here to do this. If you guys want to hunt, we're going to hunt. But I'm going to offer you that if you want to come back another time, I know it's a drive to come in from Colorado." I said, "Each one of you can come back of your own free will, and whenever you want, you don't have to come together as a group. That I'll give each one of you a weekend to come back and hunt again if you want to." And, they all did that. And I think every one of them came back and had a spectacular time.
It's just the weather. It's just, you're a mercy to the weather. Yeah, you're right.
People don't get that, though. People come out and get mad. We have, going back to Scott, when Scott came out one time, one of the last couple of times he came out, we were hunting around Childress. And when I say we got stuck, there were some videos of it. I mean, it took an oscillating 8-wheel tractor to come in that the landowner had to drive in from like 26 miles away with one of his guys.
To get
and
you
he hooked
out.
up to my truck, and that tractor was going side to side of the dirt road trying to pull me out of this ditch. I was at a half-ton pickup. We got stuck. But it was because it was muddy, and we're trying to go everywhere we can. And, people come in, and here lately, the rains, we've had torrential rains for the last couple of weeks. We've been stuck to pavement on some fields or some areas. You get in, and if the field's on pavement, you can hunt it. But if some of these fields that are back in the river bottoms that are 5 miles back on these dirt roads,
Oh yeah.
you're going to be sleeping in a ditch if we try to get back to some of these fields. It's just not going to happen. These fields, we've got a lot of red clay, and the fields are crowned, or the roads are crowned. And so
You sink in.
you don't sink. Like, you're going straight, and then there's no warning. There's nothing. You're straight, and you go straight sideways because it's red clay, so it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
hard,
you're right. Yeah.
but it's super slick. So you're going, and all of a sudden you're straight sideways into a ditch. You don't kind of do this number like a snake and go
Kinda
off.
like a
it's
snake.
straight sideways
Oh my God.
into the ditch, and
that's it.
yeah, I mean, it gets tough at that point. So,
Yeah, we got red clay in Houston, North
Oh, you do?
Houston.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
you know
we
that.
do.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
just
just
super slick.
like, poop.
yeah, well, we've got a lot of.
It's not hard.
sand.
It's kind of soft.
Oh, yours is soft. Ours up here, if it's the red clay stuff, man, it's super packed. It's hard.
Yeah.
Just super slick, snotty. The dirt roads, if we can get in the sandy loam, we've got sandy loam mixed in with a lot of the stuff because of the peanuts. That's what the peanuts grow in. That's better when it's wet. That type of dirt packs a little bit more, and it's better to drive in when it's wet. But weather definitely plays a factor in getting people out into the fields and
Right.
getting all
It's
the
just
animals.
it's just a factor, like you mentioned, weather, timing, and it's all a factor. And people have to understand that hogs are, like you mentioned, they move a lot. One day they will be here, and then the next day they will probably be 10 miles down the road.
People don't get that.
And it's just like, and they just like that. They nomad. They move a lot, and you probably see one pig, and you'd be like, oh, I know that pig, and then 2 months later, the same pig in the same area. They just rotate a lot, and in same as deer, they just move a lot, and it's hard to kind of like keep track of them, and I don't know how you do it. I don't know how sorcery that you do, but you always happen to find pigs.
We get on pigs. It's the area. It's the fields.
Right.
It's the amount of pigs in the area. But going full circle on that, 20 pigs a night is a really, really good night.
It is
When
a
you
good
deal with all
night.
the factors that we deal with.
Right.
If somebody can go out and get 20 pigs in a night, I consider it a good hunt.
I mean,
Maybe not everybody will. I consider that a pretty good hunt. I consider it a successful hunt. So, but yeah, you've got the pigs moving, and you've got to count on the fields. I mean, one of the craziest stories that I can think of when I was first getting started, I had a group of guys come in from up north, and it was snowing, and I mean, it was one of the worst snowstorms that I've seen around here.
When was that?
It was 6 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Crazy snowstorm. You couldn't see. These guys still wanted to hunt, and I'm like, we're thermals. So I tell these guys, I said, okay, we're gonna see what we can do.
right.
You couldn't scan. I mean, you drive down the road and you look out the window, you can't see the bed of the truck. It's so bad. But I had a field that I counted on, that I knew I could depend on. And I knew this pivot where it ran down the field and went right through a low spot in the field. The pivot had been off for a while. I knew that there were peanuts around it. I said, look, we're going to go over here. So we're going to park way up here. So we don't have a lot of chances at this night. We're going to park, and we're going to walk, and we're going to find that pivot, and we're going to sneak down that pivot. And those guys ended up killing 12 pigs that night, going off that one field, going in, sneaking down the pivot, finding pigs around the pivot, getting them out. We obviously we're not shooting the pivots, but getting up next to the pivot wheel, shooting out in the field towards them, hit them, go back to the truck, go back to the house, warm up a little bit,
Come back again.
out. We got 12 pigs that night, but I consider that a major win. When you've got, you can't see 10 feet in front of you because of the snow all night. One of the shows with the Habit, back in 19, I think it was, they came in and we had a tornado blow over. We're out hunting. We get a tornado warning. We run back to the house. It's on the episode. We sit in the house as this tornado blows by. And we've got enough time. We're going to go out. And we've got one more field that we've been hitting. And we've killed a bunch of pigs. They had already killed quite a few pigs. That night, I think we were in the 60s already. And we went one more field. And sure enough, it was the field that I was depending on. And we went to it. And on the episode, I mean, there's probably 200 pigs in the field.
Wow.
And they got out, and Chuck went full auto, and JJ was JJ. He didn't shoot all that well. And I think they killed like 3 pigs out of that field. But it was one of those things that was on camera, so you couldn't deny it. You know, like, hey, man, your film guy got that. Your scope's got that. That's on y'all, not me.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's an operator error. You know what I mean? It's just like you can put 20 pigs like 10 yards away. I mean, if they're not good shooters, I mean, it's so be it. And sometimes you got the newbies never shot a rifle.
They're the best.
And they are pretty good.
They'll listen to you. They don't think they know it all. They'll listen to you, and some of those guys do the absolute best.
They just like killed it. They just like out there just dropping pigs one by one. And sometimes some people don't know their lead also. You have to know if you shot your rifle long enough, you know the lead.
You know the drop and all the different things that you learn when you shoot regularly. Yeah.
Especially, I mean, if they're that close. I learned that the hard way because I didn't know my lead. In the military, we always shoot like static target. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm a better shooter now that I was when I was in the military. Yeah. That's surprising. It is crazy.
That's one of the things I love is when you get guys coming in that are military and they'll all tell you, I was in the, and it's amazing because now when they come in, every one of them were, top of their class sniper in the military, and every one of them's got that story. It seems like, and you come in and man, some of them couldn't hit dirt in the field. Mm-hmm. It's kind of comical.
It is different. It's a different ball game.
Way different.
I mean, they could be great deer hunters. Mm-hmm. When you put them with hogs or coyotes, it's a whole
thermal.
And the thermal, it's different.
The lead difference, the processing time and the scope, they don't get it.
The perception, the depth perception.
Zero depth perception, big time.
It is. It takes a lot of factor to kill a pig or even 3 or 4 pigs out of a little small herd, running groups. And I shoot 7.62 by 39. It's not the greatest round.
That's what Matt and Wesley shoot. It does okay.
It does okay, but you gotta know the range and the lead. So I learned that the hard way, and I'm pretty good now. I'm confident with the round, but I know if I pass 150, I'm not even worried about it.
Yeah,
not even that. Well, the 6 grand though, yes, 200 yards. I take my chances, but the 7.62 by 39, 150 is my top.
Yeah.
I know my range. I'd be like, I would not even bother to shoot because I might probably go over, under, left or right.
And even if you hit it, there's not that much energy left in that round.
Right.
It's like that's the closest round to a 300 blackout that's out there. So you get out into those distances and you just don't have the oomph left.
No, you don't.
Very far.
You don't.
So.
6.5 Creamer, maybe. That would be like 200 yards easy.
Yeah.
But 7.62 by 39.
It's not the round for it.
Nah, but the 6.5, the 6A SPC, I have one rifle by Jimmy. His dad is big on 6A.
Yeah.
So he talked to me into it, and it's a great round, man. It just you can carry a lot. It's basically
not a lot of recoil.
It's not a lot of recoil. It's powerful. Yeah. It's plenty of ammo out there. Even though a lot of people don't know about that round, it is surprisingly good.
Well, it was developed by the Army. I don't know if you know the background behind it. It was developed then. Now it's been picked up recently this year. I think the FBI and the DEA are both carrying them as their carry rounds now. They're carry ARs. So looking forward to that. I've got a deal locally with one of the 3-letter agencies that when they have extra ammo left over, I kind of
the surplus.
I get some of it that they don't shoot. So that's always helpful. But,
it is.
I like that 6.8 a lot more than I like the 5.56 that I got from them forever. They used to give me a lot of the 2.23, which I appreciate all of it. Don't get me wrong, but there's only certain instances of the year where I'm going to run a lot of 2.23. We do the 6.8s all the time.
6.8. What do you use? You shoot Hornady 6.8?
Well, it's custom loaded by Druid Hill, but he uses right now he's running Starline brass with 120 SST. Projectiles.
I like the SSTs. It's got good performance though.
That's got great performance on
it. It is.
Yeah, good penetration. A lot of things that people don't. A lot of people want to bring VMAX. It's fine. It's their choice. I don't like it.
You don't.
You get a lot of splash. You don't get the penetration you need on these bigger pigs that we have out here, which there's small pigs out here too, but we do shoot a lot of big pigs. And you get a 200 plus pound pig at 100 yards, that VMAX is not going to penetrate most of the time.
What is the weight on the VMAX? It's lightweight. It's like low grain. It's
on the VMAX.
Yeah.
On the 6.8, it's 110 grain.
That's it. Yeah, probably that's why. It's
Well,
it's in the low end. I mean,
one of the best rounds I've ever shot out of the 6.8 was a 90 grain spear gold dot.
Spear,
Soft point. It's a soft point round, 90 grain. You got a lot of speed coming with it, but it's gonna stick together. It's not gonna splash, and you're gonna get penetration. And that's the key. Is these pigs have got so much thick protection on the outer portion of them. You've got to get through. People don't understand the skin itself. I had a guy. I've only one time said that I was going to cape one for a guy. He shot a giant boar, and I went to cape it. And with a deer, you cut around and you peel the hide back, and it peels, and you pull it as it's coming off, and it just makes it easy. The pig won't do that.
No.
It opened up like a barrel, and I'm having to stick my arm down inside the skin and
the hide, just try to,
and cut down with my arm inside the pig to do it because it wouldn't pull back.
it would not. It's just too tough.
It's just too tough. And then you've got the muscle mass, and you've got that bone, that armor plate of bone, and people don't understand. You've got to have something to punch through that, or you're not. We kill pigs all the time that people have shot that have growth on the side of their shoulder. They've got a baseball size deal where a bullet got stuck right there, didn't penetrate them. It didn't get past the barely past the skin, but it didn't get into the bone or anything like that. So,
and they don't have fat. It's just basically meat and bones and
heavy mass.
It's heavy. It's
heavy mass.
They will look small when you up close, but when you try to carry or pull, they heavy.
They're there. They're all there.
They're very, very dense animals and very, like you mentioned, very resilient. It could be cold, it could be wet, it could be hot. They will thrive. They will survive. They will move.
They're there. I mean, cockroaches and feral pigs.
Yeah.
Something bad happens, that's what's going to be running around still.
It's going to be. They are going to be there. And I was watching the news the other day, and I was driving here. It took me a 5-hour drive, and I was driving here. I was, trying to get ready for this interview, and they were like moving up north. They moving up north, and 5 years ago they were in the lower states, Alabama, right here, Georgia, Florida, whatever. But now they could be seen all the way up to Michigan sometimes. And
well, they say a lot of them are coming down south too. A different breed of
they mix in
from Canada. So yeah,
the Russian boar. They just mix in, and it's gonna be crazy. The next couple of years, gonna be all over the United States. Yeah. That's my thought. They're probably
not in California as much. I mean, because who or what really wants to live in California?
I know.
But no, there's some out there already.
They will have fun. They probably move to California. They probably
they can take this. They can take it over for all I care.
Yeah, nobody will hunt it down there.
Pig could run that state better than it's being ran right now. So,
nobody will hunt it.
Different topic of conversation.
Right. We probably leave that for part 2. But but nobody will hunt them in California anyway. All the protection animals.
Make friends with them.
Yeah, they probably would.
Pet them.
All right, and for ending this conversation, I really appreciate it. Yeah. You allowed me to be here, conduct an interview, and have fun, and finally meet you in person. And we had to schedule at least a hunt with you.
Yeah, come out and shoot something. You'll enjoy it.
I probably will. I will bring my son with me. Okay. He would like to shoot too, so he's a great guy. He hunt with me a couple of times, but he's already grown, so he would love to shoot. And do you have any? I will leave his information down below, social media, and on the QR code, so you can scan it right here, and then you can follow him on Facebook. You have Instagram too,
Instagram and Facebook. I don't do as much on Instagram as I used to. They bust us every time we post anything fun.
Yeah.
Facebook's still the main way to go. But we do have both of them. I don't have a TikTok. Everybody gives me crap about it. If somebody wants to come on and run my TikTok, holler at me. I don't have a TikTok. But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, you can throw my cell phone on it. I use that. Anybody that hunts with me or needs to get a hold of me, call me on the cell phone, hit me on the celly.
All right.
And, we'll be good.
All right. So I'm going to leave that information below. I really appreciate you spending time with us, and up to the next one. Goodbye.
Thanks.